So then as it gets thinner and thinner and thinner, the fly rolls out nicely for us. It also doesn't let the fish see the line too.
Right. So you're actually, that's part of the casting procedure, and it's part of the way to get the fly out, because you have very little weight
Absolutely.
on the fly. So let's talk a little bit about the fly that you have there. And I had mentioned about the weight, and you had said that you're using a saltwater hook on this one?
Well, I switched flies when we were fishing. This particular fly here is the Klauser minnow. This originated from Bob Klauser in Pennsylvania. Probably 30, 40 years ago he invented this fly, and now it's used all over the world. So this is a great fly for bucktail fly, and it's a great bait fish imitation. Basically, it's a streamer.
You're trying to look like, I guess, the herring for the stripers. Am I correct? That's probably basically.
Absolutely. This will give you. This will look like whatever it looks like to the fish. As long as they eat it, I'm happy.
That's right.
But yeah, we're trying to match the herring that are coming up because they're migrating up the river right now. The herring, the shad are already by us, so.
And the stripers just follow the herring up.
The stripers are following the herring up, and I also believe that the stripers follow shad up too.
Oh, gotcha.
I wouldn't put it past a 50-pound striper to eat a shad
no,
easily.
I'm sure that. Get us out there. Show us how you can drive that thing out.
Okay.
Now you promised you weren't going to hook me, right?
Yeah, this will be a 10-foot rod, so I'll just keep this right over your head here. So basically, this fly line I'm using is a floating fly line. It's a weight forward. So when the manufacturer makes a fly line, the taper is determined within the first 30 feet of the fly line. Our fishing rods taper from thick to thin, so the fly lines also taper too. And you can probably easily see that. You can just see the thickness, see how thick it is, and then how thin it is back here. So then when I cast, the thick part will carry the thin part out the guides, and that's what we call shooting our line out there. So what I'm usually doing is I'm picking up my cast, stop, and all that excess will shoot out. So that's what we call shooting the line.
All right, now that it's out there, are you just letting it float by itself? Or are you working it, or what are you doing?
A lot of times I'm going to let it drift through first, as long as I have the right depth of water and my fly doesn't get hung up on the rocks. When I'm looking for stripers, usually I'm going to let the fly just dead drift through the holes first. If nothing happens, then I'll put some action on it. I'll usually just let it float. If nothing happens, maybe I'll take a couple strips, 1, 2, or 3, let the fly start moving. And usually it's going to be, the fish is going to take that fly on the swing or after the swing.
That's important to remember, because even when I'm using a spinning rod here, when I throw the lure out, I let it go, and then when it comes, that's when I'm going to get that hit as it swings around.
Absolutely.
Then you're going to get the hit.
A lot of people are too anxious. They'll pick up their lure or their fly before it's done swinging. So what's happening is our fly's drifting down, it's sinking. But then as it swings and it picks up, and somehow that triggers the fish to attack it.
Exactly.
And then also, if the fish doesn't hit it, then I'll just let it hang down there for a little bit, and it's just hanging down at the end of the fly line, just waving in the current. So they'll attack it also, just sitting there.
Right.
If nothing happens, then I'll strip in real fast, right? So then that's making the fly look like a minnow trying to escape, and then that triggers a hit too. So whatever we're doing, we're trying to get the fish to trigger that bite for the fish.
All right, good. All right, Gary, we got this pool here, and with a fly rod, how do you fish it?
Basically, what I'm doing is I'm casting across and downstream and letting it drift. After it lands, what I'll do is I'll strip it in. I'll let it drift, and then strip it in real fast after it's done swinging. If nothing happens, then I'll pick up, take another cast, and I'm always usually casting across and downstream. The more I cast upstream, the more my fly will sink as it comes down river.
You can see Gary's using a fly rod, and I can't fly fish. Everybody knows that. So I'm going to use my little lightweight spinning rod, and we're going to see who can catch most fish today. I bet you he does. As you can see, Gary has worked his way out into the river, and he's got a fish on. And what he's done, he's worked his way out, and it's really important to pick your spots. And what he's done, he's worked his way out, and he's behind that rock there, so he's got a little bit of a break in the water so he can hold himself up, because believe it or not, that water is fast out there. It may not be very deep where he's standing, but it's slippery. The rocks are wet with moss, and holding on to that fish and trying to keep your balance is a really important thing to do. He also has good wading shoes on, got cleats under him, and he's got his vest on just in case he takes a tumble. There he goes, working that fish in. Got a nice fish. Got a nice fish out there. Got a nice fish. And he lost it. But again, as you can see, worked his way out. And he's really shallow right now, but in between where he was and myself, there's a lot of deeper water in there, so you got to be careful when you wade out there. But you can see the length of his cast. When he casts, he's putting that fly way out in there, so he gets a nice long drift all the way down there, and he's picking out the edges. Of course, from where we are, you can just see a bunch of the edges, but he's picking each edge in between those rocks there. There's a little eddy and a little edge, and that's where the stripers, or even bass too, are going to be sitting. And he's putting his fly right along that edge, strip, right along. Let it flip back, come back up, and he'll work that cast all the way back, and then cast back out. But he's going to pick his spots. Now he may stay there for a couple more minutes, may move down a little bit, because the fish may have moved down lower in the pool. So he'll just watch it, see what's going on, let the fish tell him what's happening, and he'll just work that spot. But again, you got to be careful when you're wading out there. That water is fast. It's not very cold, but it's fast, and you can slip and really get hurt. So you got to be careful when you do it. Again, he's wearing really good wading shoes, and he does have his life vest on, which you always should have when you're out here. Things that when you wade fish, you can cover a lot of water by just walking and wading down. We moved up here to the wing dam, and for some of you it looks familiar, this is the wing dam at New Hope and Lambertville, and we have the water coming through, and below it we have all these great rifts. Again, I got to stress, it is slippery out there, so you got to wear good shoes, safety vest, and you'll have fun. Again, what you want to do is you want to get to these rifts and pick out every one of these little pockets, because the fish are going to hold there. It's like Gary's got a good fish in the rift. Again, it's really hard to get out to some of these spots, and again, you got to always stress safety with them. Again, he's out there, he's got a nice fish, and again, on that light that fly rod, it's a lot of fun bringing that fish in. A nice little striper there. There he is. That's what he's doing. So he's going to get back out there again and see if he can catch another striper.